Hey everybody, this is Joe from Shaper HQ, which doesn't have nearly the same ring as Sam from Shaper HQ, but we'll do our best here. Thanks for joining us. We're really excited to chat with you guys. We had a lot of inbound questions after we made some big news announcements this week related to our spindle and related to our production shipping schedule. So we're just going to dive in and kind of go through these and try to get as many done in the next hour as we can. So first, I guess leading in, I'd like to just tell a little bit more about the spindle. We've had a ton of questions about power, specs, everything related to it. So this is the Shaper SM1 spindle. It's been custom designed and developed to use with Shaper origin. Basic specs, it's a 720 watt spindle. It's load compensating, which means it won't bog down in your cut. It's variable speed from 10,000 to 26,000 RPM. The way to think about the spindle is like a really nice, precise trim router. So this is not a mega horsepower router. This is, let's see, 720 watts is about 1 horsepower. And the way to think about it is kind of a precision instrument that Origin's using to guide and deliver the cuts. So I guess it might be fun to just actually see it in use first before we dive into a bunch of the questions. So I've got a little demo here. Let me get it ready. So this is a 1/4-inch cutter. So the spindle was shipped with a 1/4-inch collet, which accepts any 1/4-inch shank cutter, and we can accommodate any cutter up to 1 inch in cutting diameter. Let's see. So cutter in, insert it into the collar. All this is done with the spindle unplugged, by the way. Tighten the collar. Gonna rotate around to show what I'm doing here. Plug this in. Now we're ready to go. Okay, so get ready for the cut. All right, so we just did a pretty quick operation to install this piece of drawer pull or cabinet pull hardware into a piece of red oak. Let's see how we did. There we go. Cool. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's see, we had several questions come up about cutters, about collets, about sizes. One question, a common one, can I use a 1/2" shank? Short answer, no. So the collet that's supplied with the SM1 router is a 1/4" collet. Festool already supplies or has available on the market an 8mm collet that fits into the same receiving end. That's not shipping with origin, but it is available from Festool. But just to give everybody a reference of what a 1/2" shank looks like compared with the size of the router, this is a collet that would normally be able to accommodate a 1/2" cutter. And so you can see there's quite a bit of a body size difference. So that's not what it's designed for. So we'll get to I think I understand the root of the question more. Is just like it's probably also related to power of the spindle. So we'll dive into that in another section. While we're on cutters though, what types of bits can I use? V groove, up cutters, down cutters, all sorts of things. So like I mentioned before, it's a 1/4" collet. We'll accept any kind of 1/4" shank cutter. Diameter of the actual cutter up to 1" max. There was another question related to Festool and will they be supplying cutters for it? Like I mentioned, they do have an 8mm collet, but they are not developing, at this point, they're not developing any cutters specifically for origin. Okay, power and performance. Can the SM1 motor handle levels of production work, and related, will there ever be a beefier motor? So yes, absolutely, can handle production work. This is something that, I mean, it's definitely been designed to work in a production environment. It can handle all sorts of materials, hardwoods, sheet goods, other materials that we've shown in our other videos, no problem. In terms of beefier motor, really if we just like to explain the concept of origin, if we kind of move toward bigger, heavier motors, it kind of increases the scale of everything else, like the motors that are required to do the compensation for the motion. And that starts to lead to kind of a bigger, bulkier machine and a kind of a different class of thing that we're not really targeting. So think about it more as an instrument, kind of more of a precision instrument that is part of the workflow in your shop. So just to kind of answer the question though, Z-axis range of travel is 45mm. That's about 1.75 inches. So you can indeed do, take your time and do multiple passes through material. So we've definitely done demo videos. For example, there was a sink installation video recently in a solid slab of walnut, and that was done by making multiple passes through the material, all with origin. No other router or more powerful router required. I think there was also a video of a very thin kerf, like an 1/8 inch kerf, of the installation of the AV panel in the middle of the COA table. That was all done with multiple passes using this router. So it is quite capable of relatively deep operation. Just take your time, do the passes. Now, there's another method, and I'd like to describe this here. You've probably seen this in some of our other videos. It's when you're doing really kind of thick work that you just want to be really quickly go through. So many of our viewers probably understand the concept of using a mechanical template and an edge follower router bit to make a cut. So we'd just like to change your kind of thinking on the process a little bit. Instead of making a separate mechanical template, in this technique, you actually do the cutting of your guide directly on the workpiece itself. So this was done by Noah in our shop. He's building this guitar body out of basswood, a couple inches thick, and you can see he very precisely routed out the channel. Then simply came in with a jigsaw and cut away this. We've got this set up as a demo. Cut away the excess material relatively roughly. Then came in with a much more powerful router. In this case, it's an OF 1400 router with a big, that's a 1/2 inch shank and an edge follower bit to clean up the edge. So Really quite similar to the workflow that you might normally be used to if you're doing using a mechanical template, but saving a lot of time and having really precise templates made right on your workpiece itself. Cool. Questions about warranty on the spindle. So this is in the warranty is included in the 1-year warranty that comes with Origin. And related questions were, how will repairs or warranties be handled? And just to clarify, these will all be handled through Shaper, not through Festool. So this is actually a Shaper product. It is it's a Shaper product, and everything will be handled through us. We had some questions related to the third axis, the Z-axis, and specifically around 3D contouring. The questions like, do you think we'll ever do 3D contouring? And questions about lettering. So I just want to kind of lay on the table that this is not a priority or kind of a prioritized development effort for Shaper. So we consider the capabilities that we've already developed with kind of what we consider 2.5D routing to be really capable and provide so much capability in the shop. We've got so many things that we want to develop related to that it's relatively low on our priority list. And I would, just to clarify, in terms of hardware, it's all capable of doing what people are asking for. It's just a very low priority on our list. I would also say that if you were considering Origin to do primarily large format contour carving, or for example, carving tractor seats in a stool or something like that, I would just say that it's probably not the right tool for the job. I think that like a gantry-based CNC router, if this is all you intend to do with it, would probably be a better choice of tool. Now, just to clarify though, if there are some situations where we definitely think that it would be not only valuable, but just like very incredible to do things like V-carving for sign carving and things like that. Definitely the hardware is capable of doing it, and eventually, somewhere down the line, it will be a prioritized software effort, but it's nothing that we're prioritizing right now, so I just want to be very transparent about that. Okay, some questions related to design software, and I think there may be some confusion related to the fact that we have, with our pre-orders, we've bundled a year of Fusion 360. So just want to clarify that we are design software agnostic. We really don't care how you're making the files. It's not required for the tool. You can kind of think about the design process as totally independent from what happens on the machine. So we accept, or what Origin wants to use is an SVG file. SVG can be output from a variety of packages, anything from 2D illustration programs like Adobe Illustrator, Corel Draw. There's free versions like Inkscape, and then on up. There's if you're into 3D modeling, and if you have no other background and you're looking to get into something, we definitely highly recommend checking out Autodesk Fusion 360. We find it kind of the learning curve to be relatively easy, and we are doing work on that one to make it very easy to export just with a plugin, just to be able to export the SVGs directly from Fusion 360. But again, not required, absolutely not required. There's no kind of hidden tricks in here, strings. So, okay, there we go. Some questions on Shaper Hub and tutorials. So first, let me address tutorials. People are asking what sort of tutorials and instructions. Can we see more tutorials? Okay, so to date, most of our video production that you've seen has been largely related to continuing to produce and show ideas of the range of capabilities of the tool and what can be done with the tool. And we'll continue to do those, but we're also shifting our priorities a bit so that the production team is more focused as we get closer to delivering this fall. Production team is more focused on delivering content that is much more instructional, sort of step-by-step, how we did it, how we set it up, work holding techniques, tips, tricks, cutters used, everything like that. So expect to see more of that content coming online and being available when we're actually getting the tools in people's hands. So questions related to Shaper Hub: when will Shaper Hub come online? What can we expect to see? Shaper Hub will come online when we're actually delivering the tools starting this fall. And at the outset, it's going to be, you know, fairly basic in terms of functionality. And then as we start to produce more content, and as we start to see what kind of projects people are interested in, we'll start building it out from there. So you can expect this thing to grow in size and scope as the community grows. Any plans to share the fixtures and jigs? Yes, absolutely. That will be something that we'll certainly prioritize. We've learned a lot about what works, what doesn't work, you know, all sorts of things. Even really basic things, well, reasonably basic things like, hey, I just want to cut something in a piece of hardwood that I had. How would I actually do this? I'm confused about the tape. I mean, this is a good example. I don't know if we can see from this viewing angle. This is a good example. I'm doing an operation in this particular piece right here, and I just took another piece of the same thickness and put it right next to it, double stick, taped it down to the bench, and did the operation. So that's, you know, one basic thing. But any of the fixtures that you've seen used, especially the things where we have material that we're doing operations into the end grain, we're going to make those plans available and give instructions on how to build them. Okay, tons and tons and tons of questions about international availability. So just want to clarify, as I think we've been, you know, as clear as possible on the site. We are very, very focused on launching in the US first. This is our first market. Origin itself will be certified for use in North America, so, you know, fully certified for that. And as we fulfill pre-orders and as we start establishing our presence in the US, we certainly have plans for expanding to everywhere else in the world that people are interested in Origin. Just to clarify about the sort of electrical compatibility. So again, this is certified to work in North America, North American power. Any countries, as we make Origin available in other countries, it's designed to work in the native power format of that country. So just want to clarify that it's going to be made to work in your country. Questions about delivery. I ordered at such and such date, so when will I get mine? Just want to take a moment to clarify what about our production schedule announcement. So production is scheduled to begin, series production is scheduled to begin in October, with first units being delivered to batch 1 pre-order customers at the end of October. They're going to then be delivered off the line on a rolling and continual basis. And we anticipate that batch 1 fulfillment will be complete by the end of this year. We're going to be rolling continuously into batch 2 production and fulfillment, which begins in January of 2018. So specifically the question of when is mine going to be delivered, it's actually a combination of things in play. So it's a combination of when you actually place the order, and importantly, and please, for this reason, add hello at shapertools.com to your contact list in email. It's very important that we're able to communicate and get a hold of you, because importantly, we actually can't fulfill the order until we have a confirmed US shipping address that's very recent and very near to where we're going to be shipping your Origin to you. So a few weeks before delivery, you can expect, for pre-order customers, you can expect an email from us where we ask for the information. That will secure your exact place in the queue. Okay, several questions about packaging and containers for Origin. And yeah, we're definitely, so on both fronts. So in order to get Origin to you, shipped directly to your door safely, and also just for general storage, we're working on some really cool overall packaging and container solutions. And we definitely hear you loud and clear that this is an important thing to you. We're listening to that feedback, and we agree with it. So we're gonna make sure that that we're taking care of Origin so that you can take care of Origin. Okay, questions about pricing. Will pricing go up? So currently pre-order pricing, batch 2, is still $16.99. I do anticipate that when we get closer to fulfillment of batch 1 delivery, like when we get closer to shipping units, that we will do another price increase on the pre-order. So just to be transparent about that. Upcoming demos. So we have a lot of requests for when will you be on the East Coast. We're listening to that feedback, and we're trying to do more events that aren't just on the West Coast, which is obviously close to our shop. So we have 2 events coming up, one in the Midwest, which is going to be on September 16th. It's called Festool Connect. It's at the Festool USA headquarters in Lebanon, Indiana. Encourage anybody to sign up for that. It's a free event to sign up for, and it's worth the trip. It's really cool to see. And we'll definitely be there and demoing. You can get hands-on with Origin there. The next one is actually a week later. It's in New York City. It's World Maker Faire. That's September 23rd and 24th. Okay, I'm going to go into a series of relatively fast rapid-fire questions, and we'll get through as many of these as we can. Is Shaper capable of working both metric and imperial? Yes, of course. I mean, there's a full computer on board. It's not. It seemed like there was some confusion. You don't have to specify whether you work in imperial or metric. Easy to convert on the fly, no problem. Or even enter in your units on the fly. Questions about mortise and tenon joints. Is it capable of doing it? Yes, of course. We've actually we're doing quite a few experiments and demos recently. This is just a little board to quickly show. So all of these shapes were, everything you see here was cut with the tool. So this was done on an end grain in a fixture to the edge of the bench. And show you here, fixture to the edge of the bench. Same exact cut file was used to cut the corresponding mortise. So, really any shape you choose. It was joking around the other day that you could even choose to do your initials, no problem. So very easy to do, very fun to do actually. And with some of the features like bit offset, it makes it very, very easy. You can use the same exact design file and cut the positive, cut the negative, and just shave off a tiny bit and make the fit exactly how you want it. Fiducial markers or shaper tape. The question is, do they have to be coplanar with the surface of the piece you're working on? Yes, yes it does. This assumes planarity of the device, or sorry, your workpiece. And as I mentioned before, once you have Origin in your hand and once you sort of see some of the relatively easy fixturing setup and kind of tips, it becomes relatively easy to figure out how to cut almost anything you want. So for example, like I mentioned example before, these 2 pieces of red oak next to each other. Many times we fixture things right to the edge of our bench, just in a regular workbench setup where you had to have a vise, just put it in a vise and just put a board across it. Just make sure that you're more or less level with that and go to town. So as with anything, the kind of a lot of doing anything is just kind of figuring out how do you want to hold your workpiece, and it becomes relatively easy from there. When making a shaper cut into a larger non-shaper cut panel, how do you precisely align the cut to the edges of the panel? Really good question. I won't do the full demo now because there is actually a reasonably good video already online on our YouTube channel, and we'll put a link to it after the show. Basically, we have a probing tool functionality where you can take the diameter of the cutter. A lot of times we turn a cutter upside down and put it in the spindle. Don't turn on the spindle, and then the cutter itself actually will descend below the bottom of the skid plate. It acts as a probe, an edge probe that you can find, this edge, that creates a virtual line. Probe the other one. You now have a referenced XY, an origin that you can reference off of. It creates a snap grid so that you can accurately place your parts. Will the spindle control the dust collection on/off? I assume that this question mainly means for vacuums like the Festool vacuums or dust collectors. that already have power port capability built into it? The short answer is no. So we designed Origin to be one cord to the wall. Even in its non-cutting state, the current draw is high enough that it would trip that switch, and therefore, if you plugged it into that and you had it in auto vacuum mode, the vacuum would be running all the time. We've come up with some kind of a really nice and easy workarounds that are, anybody can do right now. For example, we have a foot switch that's easily available from a variety of retailers. And there's a bunch of other remote products also. Are there any conditions or methods used when Origin can safely and reliably climb cut? So as with any kind of routing or machining operation, you will achieve the best cutting experience and cutting finish if you're machining in a conventional cut direction. There's certainly configurations. I mean, in terms of relative to a hand router, this is a much better experience of doing a climb cut. But still, anytime that we're looking for the best edge finish, we recommend conventional cutting. And Shaper Origin actually has smarts built into it. If it knows, for example, that you're doing an inside cut, it will suggest and guide you in the direction of the cutting path for the best quality cut. Will Shaper provide guidance on what other bits can be used? Yes, of course. Like I mentioned before, we consider ourselves fairly bit agnostic. Also, we are providing 3 really high quality cutters with the tool with Shaper Origin. We've got a 1/4-inch upcut spiral, and we've got a 60-degree V-bit cutter that's going to be included with it. These we consider sort of our everyday workhorse. They're really, really good, especially for wood materials. Depending on what you're doing, what the project is, what the application is, material, etc. There's many, 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 many different types of cutters that are available. And I do expect that eventually we'll even increase our own Shaper catalog of those. But in the meantime, we will also, anytime that we have specific projects that we're working on, we'll give a lot better indication of the types of cutters we're using and what we found to work well. And even try to include information of what we found doesn't work well, because there are certainly instances of that. Okay, any way I can get bumped from batch 2 to batch 1? I wish I could say yes to this. It wouldn't be fair to anybody. So sort of universally no. We really appreciate everybody who's really excited to get theirs, but one of the rewards for kind of believing in us early was getting in there, getting the very best price that you'll really ever see on Origin, and believing in us. So we want to kind of maintain that relationship. Good. Okay, I think that's kind of a bunch of the questions that came in, and it looks like we're wrapping up. So just want to remind everybody, or tell everybody, that there's going to be a recording of this event that's going to be available on our YouTube channel after this is complete. I'd also like to remind people that we do have a pretty large and growing list of FAQ, or frequently asked questions, on our website at shapertools.com/FAQ, I believe. And if there are any additional questions, we're always happy to field them and get to them as soon as possible. You can always send us a note at hello@shapertools.com. So thank you very much for joining us this morning or this afternoon or whatever time it is, wherever you are. And yeah, hope to see you and get a chance to get hands-on with Origin at our next event. Thanks. Bye-bye.